It is the Boneyard Podcast, and offensive coordinator Zach Haug starts us off today, and kind of a new look to the podcast. Zach, we've gone younger at that position over there. Corey Campbell will be anchoring our coverage today, but it is around here, Zach. We call this South Grand Prairie Week,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And this makes how many consecutive
This will be the fifth straight year. We're 2-2.
2-2 against what are they? The Warriors.
Yes, the South Grand Prairie Warriors.
South Grand Prairie Warriors. You think I would know by now? And man, it's fun to have some of the assistants. We're going to have Zach on. We're going to have Anthony Pascuzzi. He, of course, has demanded like 30 minutes. And then Coach Hattemer, Nathan Hattemer, the O-line coach. And boy, that's been all of y'all. That's been all hands on deck, hasn't it? Zach, we'll start there. I mean, like, just it's been a great year. There have been some ups and downs. You had a couple of heartbreakers to start with, but you run the table in district. I think it's on everybody's mind, so I'll go ahead and say it. Yes, everybody's wondering how Christian Rhodes is doing. I think Zach will let Corey probably handle that because I don't want to get Zach in trouble on that front. But, just the overall offense, kind of walk me through how y'all kind of went from those early setbacks where you had a couple of late ones get away from you to then getting that kind of swagger back and then city championship, run the table. What's the biggest reason y'all have been able to accomplish this?
Yeah, it's been for sure an up and down season. We lost the Forney game. We picked out 17 plays that if it went our way, we would have won the game. 17 plays. And same thing with Flower Mound. And Flower Mound, defensively, we played great. Offensively, Flower Mound, we really laid an egg. Just not blocking well on the perimeter, missed assignments and things like that. And we really challenged the guys after the Flower Mound game of just, this is not championship football. And if you want to go win a gold ball, we're going to have to do things differently. And I mean, they really answered the bell to all the challenges we've given them. Quick game was a huge thing. And when we played Richardson, we scored 2 touchdowns on quick game. That's, a run game is called. And if we like it out there, you're going to throw it out there. And Harrison both times threw it out there. And Leland got a huge block on one. And then Leland caught the ball. And then our 2 slot receivers got 2 big blocks. And so that's just an extension of the run game and being able to, if we have numbers over there, just throw it over there. And that's just really good for a play caller to have. And really proud of them for picking up, because how we describe a good football player is not what you do when your number's called, is what are you doing when your number's not called, right? Mm-hmm. What's your effort like when the play is not for you? And we really pride ourselves on that. We watch our kids of what are they doing when their name's not called.
So. Yeah. And boy, Leland, as you said, perimeter blocking, does a great job in that area. Christian Rhodes, usually when a back has that many yards and he's got that much ability and all the colleges are after him, he wants the ball every time. And yet this guy is seeking people out to destroy them when he doesn't have the ball, which is what a great teammate, does. Walk us through, if you would. You and Corey have a unique relationship, and it's kind of a big brother, little brother thing. Corey still does the play calling, yet you have a huge impact on the game planning, and even during the game, you have the ability to say, hey, let's do this, or what about this? How does that work? Because you're over there kind of helping getting the plays in. That's a part of what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
But then you also kind of have to be, so on the headset, if you can kind of take us inside, or you connected there to Corey, where if you want to say, hey, let's think about this, is that a normal thing throughout the game to be doing things like that?
Yeah, there's a constant communication between myself, Nathan, and Corey, and some of the other coaches on staff of what we want to do. And Corey and I do have a really special relationship. I mean, we pretty much get lunch every day and things. I want to make sure that Corey's enjoying his job and being able to still talk about football and things like that. Stuff that we did when I was the receivers coach and he was the offensive coordinator, just keeping that going. But we just work so well together. We're always trying to find a leg up in some form or fashion of just plays that can put our kids in a place to be successful, and just never stop doing that, and always adding on to kind of schemes that we do and trying to find different ways to hide what we're doing, and just things like that. It's been really fun. I've been really proud of us. I think we're getting better and getting hot at the right time. And just about Christian, I mean, he's just been so incredible this year, and every day he's getting better. I was worried about how good his catching skills were in the spring, and every single day he's getting better at catching. You mentioned blocking. There's 2 plays in Forney where he's lead blocking, and he blocks somebody, and then Mo is out, and there's nothing that Christian can do, but he just still sprints and tries to find something to do. I mean, he really is this really special player, and he's just not selfish at all.
All right, and it's been interesting to watch. Boy, Harrison is isn't it interesting? Even since you've been here, I'm trying to remember what year did you arrive at Lake Highlands?
It was Jono and Jackson's senior year, the year I came in. Jono Barrows and Jackson Thompson.
Okay.
And then the first year that I coached offense was Trip Holly's freshman year. So I called plays for the freshman, Trip Holly's freshman year.
Okay. So you watched that bunch come up.
Yeah, I watched that 4 years. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because Holly, and he started to, we realized he could run more than, because he was thought of as more of like a pocket passer kind of guy, and he could run a little bit. But Harrison is a guy that's really got a nice arm, got good accuracy, but also gives you the run game. And it kind of harkens back to some of the Wildcats from the past. Mitch Colson had a great run here, extremely tough kid. I think, it seems like Harrison's cut from that same cloth.
Oh, yeah. And we knew that from the beginning of the year of, he's going to give us something different in the run game. And we call a lot more. We're planning on calling a lot more quarterback runs from the get-go. Tripp kind of evolved into that, like towards the last 3 games of the season. He really, was owning being a really good runner, and Harrison's had that from the get-go, from his freshman year, sophomore year. And we haven't been able to run him as much, just with all his knee and his shoulder, and kind of like really nursing all that stuff. But I'm praying, like he's been really coming along with this health, and it's going to be a big part of our game plan to kind of unleash the number 6 on them in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I, the crowd and his teammates feed off of him and his energy and even his celebrations. I know y'all have to keep some of that in check, but he does a great job kind of inspiring people, and so he's been a good leader, and he wants the ball, and he's a winner and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's great. What about your receivers? Jordan, like a lot of your players, he's had some ups and downs. He's also made some big plays. He's a big target. I really like how you're getting Flag more and more evolved. We've seen his role evolve. I think y'all are trying to decide, okay, how can we use him best? And you've looked for more ways to do that. Obviously, Leland's been around now for a long time, 3rd year as a starter. And sophomore year, I think he was getting a lot of playing time. And so that has to be kind of neat for you to watch these guys come all the way through the program, like Leland and some of these guys just finishing, and then see a guy like Mason Spangler make an amazing catch in the back of the end zone the other night. So you've got some tremendous youth, but some great veteran leadership.
Couldn't be prouder with the group. Just going down the line. So Jordan is just such a weapon, and obviously you see when he gets those big passes, but what sometimes you don't see how much attention that the defense has to give him. You got to put 2 over the top of him. DeAnthony, like you said, has really come a long way. We didn't have him in spring, and so kind of during fall camp, we had to really get him going of knowing our terminology, knowing all the different plays, and he struggled a little bit with that in the beginning of the season, but now it's really great, and he's blocking, playing unselfish. He gets a little bit lazy sometimes with his eyes and drops a couple easy passes, but we're hoping that he gets that going. And then Leland, I really want to talk about Leland of just how versatile he is, and how we were able to really display that against Richardson, of lining him up outside, lining him up in the slot, being a tight end, and how how lethal he was. I mean, I think he caught 7 different passes, and all 7 were different routes. And so he's just got a huge route tree. He blocks really well, and we ask a lot of him. Very, very, very proud of Leland.
Okay, last thought. South Grand Prairie, you know the program, you for the most part, although when y'all started playing them, they had a coach. I remember it was like from Oklahoma or somewhere. They've got a different coach since then. Anything new that they've kind of tried to do this year, or what's the biggest thing you got to be aware of? Because they always have like 1 or 2 like great D1 type athletes, and some. I always remember a great cornerback, and then they'll have some really good skill players. What stands out about what they have on defense?
They play in a really tough district. That district's really tough with Arlington Bowie and Arlington Martin. Arlington High is really good this year, and then Haltom was joined that district this year. And it's week in and week out. They're playing a tough schedule. They beat Arlington Martin by 2 touchdowns. They're a really, really solid team. Very similar defense to last year. Athletic. They're got a bunch of ball hawks, and they're just sound football team. And it's gonna take our best on Friday night to come out with a victory. But again, like I think our boys are up for the challenge. It's 2-2, 2 wins in 2 last 4 years, and so whoever wins this is going to kind of take the lead on that. But I'm really excited for these boys. I'm really proud of our coaching staff for the plan that we had this weekend, and we're going to get to start implementing it on Monday. And I think the fans will be really excited about it.
All right, it's going to be a great crowd. 7 o'clock. I was already trying to get on Brush Fire or whatever and get tickets the other night. I'll figure it out at some point. I know you'll help me as I continue to struggle with anything technical. But it's fun having you guys on, and you guys all have a lot going on, and you've had stuff come up this year that's been tough to deal with, and yet you all just pour in the hours, and you'll have a great camaraderie, and so it's really fun to watch. And of course, the one coach who I don't think is going to be on with me today that really like to talk, or part of y'all support staff, our man JT. That's really who we need to, we need to have him front and center, don't we? Yeah.
He would love that.
He's a big fan of the Boneyard podcast.
Yeah, probably the biggest.
You think
maybe
right there at the top?
I mean, he's in the conversation.
Okay. You need to shout out your wife or kids or anybody.
Big shout out to my wife. She's the best. My little daughter, Nora. And then Amy is pregnant with our second.
Congrats.
We got a boy on the way. David Scott. So
we already know the name.
Yeah. He's going to be named after my father-in-law.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Who you lost this year, but yeah, that is what a great honor and what a neat deal for your whole family. So anyway, well, congrats on everything, and man, it's great to have you.
This is awesome.
On the Boneyard podcast. There he goes, Zach Haug. All right, continuing on with this special Boneyard podcast, you can see we've had a change here. We're kind of aging. We got Zach, young Zach, you, Hattemer's a little bit older than you, right? And then Corey, the elder.
Corey's by
obviously
far the oldest.
The elder statesman, almost close to my age. He's really starting to close in on 50. I don't know what he is, but he's somewhere there. Anthony, we've been good friends for quite a few years. It was forged on the golf course, and we've always vowed to play together again. But I think we had so much fun. We don't want to we want that to be our lasting memory of golfing together. But man, it is it's been a great year. Y'all have run the table in district, and then you decided. Walk us through a little bit about. And you and Corey, I guess, came to the decision. I think Corey has given you the option of coming back down to the field if you would like it. But what has that been like at some point this season? And this is the first season I can recall. You went up to the press box, and obviously you get a different view of things up there. I can only imagine what it's like being in a room with you up there. Has that been a good move for you? I'm sure there's things you miss because you like that immediate feedback, but there's probably some things you've enjoyed about it. How's how's that been? Obviously, the results have been good.
Yeah, we've been doing good. I've been coaching for 16 years. I've been a coordinator for 8, and I've never, ever gone to the box. I've always been on the field where the action is and where the kids are, and you can make adjustments and just where all the juice is. But after the second half of that Pierce game, I just felt like I could do a little better seeing things and kind of putting us in some better calls. And, when you're on the field, it's hard to see what's happening way over there. Where's that tight end at? Or, how do they block us up top?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to try going up top, and I've heard things about it and seeing how it went. And it's been great. You kind of remove yourself from the emotion. It's easier to kind of stay a play ahead. And you just see the whole thing. It slows down. And, credit to really our staff on the field and the kids. Coach Watkins and Coach Stewart and Coach Long and Coach Wells have been relaying my calls and going on the sideline and drawing up everything I'm seeing and getting the calls to the kids. And we haven't blown any calls or done anything. So it's been hard for me to remove myself from the kids in the field and the action, but calling a game and seeing the big picture and just the motion and how we're lining up and where we're fitting the run and how they're blocking us and the routes, it's been really beneficial. So I can't say that's, I love being away from the action, but I will say calling a game, and I just felt, honestly, it puts us in the best situation to play well. And again, credit to the kids, credit to our staff for relaying the calls and drawing things up. And yeah, I don't see it changing. I like being up there and kind of seeing it from the sky down.
Even from the start of the season against Forney has some all caliber, all state type running back. And y'all made the decision, you're like, we're going to take some of these players out of these games. And that's not easy to do. Even in the NFL, you see players like Derrick Henry run against 8-man boxes and that kind of thing. But y'all have really taken a lot of pride in shutting down some great players and some great offenses. What do you credit that to? Is in terms of what y'all have been able to do against the run. I think that's been one of the more, and it's not like you don't make some great plays in the back end too, but it seems like y'all have been particularly good against the run this season.
We've got the number 1 rush defense in DFW right now. And that's, it's a credit to the kids and the coaches. I've said on Twitter when I tweet stuff, but it's not rocket science. It's a player's game. And we have great players. So that's first and foremost. Our talent is really good. And then we've been in this system for quite some time, so our staff knows how we line up and how we fit the run. And we're all on the same page and aligned how we want to coach it and how we want to do it. Shout out to Hollywood. He plays safety for us, but, in 2-back sets and tight end sets, that's not 1 back. He's our 8th run defender. And to have a safety that can cover like that and then kind of screw down there to 7 yards and flat-foot it and being able to be our 8th run defender, he's a great tackler, so that helps a lot. And then I don't know if people have noticed this from, just being fans, but we've always been a 3-4 the last 5, 6, 7 years. And, giving J. Ray some credits, a lot of times we slide him down to the front, we kick the front, we put Sherrado at middle linebacker, and our 3-4 now becomes a 4-3. And we've never done that before. And we kind of stunt the D-line and we move around. And so now in O-line, you got to block our normal 3-4 run fits. And on top of that, now you've got to block a 4-3. And we can get into it like that. We don't have to run people on and off. We just make a call. J. Ray walks down, slides the front. Sherrado goes to the middle, and now it is a 4-3. And we stunt and move our D linemen around a good amount. And, offensive line-wise, that's a lot to prepare for. So, again, credit to the kids for being multiple. J. Ray being able to do that's a big deal. Being able to play inside linebacker and walk down and play D end. And then I also want to credit our back end. We load the box and we have 7, 8-man fronts, and that puts, Webb and our corners, it puts them on an island. And sometimes, they're out there mano a mano and they don't have a lot of help on RPO game. And so it's a credit to them for being able to do that. And I think you kind of have to, and, now game with RPOs and they put the ball in the belly and you've got talent on the outside and they run routes and they can pull it and throw routes or hand it in quarterback run game. So really all around our front 7 does a great job of just being physical and playing their gaps. And then just being multiple, J. Ray walking down and being a 4-man front really helps us a lot.
How do you decide when a young guy especially is ready? I mean, to me, that would be a tough thing because you love watching your JV and your freshman play and they're going to help you at some point, but you're generally at y'all's level, Class 6A, you're not dying to have, you don't want a bunch of sophomores out there.
Sure.
But if they're good enough,
sure,
you're going to put them out there. A kid like Holden, who just gets better and better each week. He's, he's a physical player, even for a guy. What is he? Is he even 16 yet? I mean, he's a young guy. And yet you all put him out there in a place where people will go after you if you're not prepared. And he's continued to grow. How do you kind of make those decisions? Hey, this guy is going to be ready to go?
I'll say this: the last few years, we've always had a sophomore that plays for us on defense, and I think it's just some kids are ready for it. Obviously, you'd love to have 11 seniors out there, but that's the thing about high school football, and you're going to have turnover every year. I mean, we had 4 or 5 new starters this year. And the thing about Holden is he's just a competitor, and he's super coachable. He's where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be, he plays his technique right. And then at the end of the day, he competes. And if he gets beat, he goes back to work. He has that corner mentality where it doesn't hang. Some kids can get beat and it ruins their game. He gets beat and, man, he takes his coaching, he takes his chewing, and he gets right back out there in a stance and he competes. And he's obviously very talented. He's got a lot of twitch and athleticism, but I go back to just he relies on his fundamentals. He's super coachable, and he competes, and he's done a great job for us as a sophomore.
You feel like most of that comes from his mom, Blythe, in terms of
I would imagine his dad,
ability?
just kind of cheers him on a little bit.
Dad's just kind of.
Speaking of this, it's funny, just a little off topic. Holden had a play a couple games ago. He had a great play, and a lot of the DBs do the strap or do all that stuff, and we were asking him why. Holden, when you make a play, you might go incomplete. You don't celebrate much. Why don't you do all that extra stuff? These DBs love to do. And without missing a blink, he said, "My dad doesn't allow it. He wouldn't want me to do that." Okay, I like it. Keep going.
You have to look back at some of that old TCU film and see if there were some celebrations that occurred. Okay, and then so prepare us for South Grand Prairie. I mean, if anybody, and y'all both kind of know each other over the years. Now, they've changed coaches since that first time when y'all really started playing them. They had a coach, I remember, from Oklahoma. I think this guy's Laban DeLay is their coach now. I mean, it's one of those things. I think we look at them sometimes getting beat up a little bit in district and go, well, maybe they're not up to whatever standard. Yet they'll always have some tremendous athletes and some players. What does this specific, as you start to look ahead, and we tape this on Monday, what are you kind of seeing? What traits that they have kind of jump out at you?
Yeah, they're super athletic. I would say they're probably the most athletic team we've seen since Forney week 1. Just skill players and athletes. I got some notes. Their quarterback, number 5, he's thrown for 1,900 yards, 21 touchdowns, 2 picks. So, pretty good stats, and obviously not turning it over. Number 4, they got a Division I running back. He's got some Power 5 offers. He's rushed for 1,400 yards, 7.6 a carry, 20 touchdowns. So when you look at the backfield, 5 and 4, the quarterback and running back together have 41 touchdowns in 10 games. So that's about 4 touchdowns. Pretty explosive. They have a receiver, number 2, almost 800 yards receiving, 20-yard average per catch, and he has 11 TDs. They're just super athletic. Their O-line, big kids. They run a lot of stretch, a lot of hard zone. They're really good at what they do. The old school kind of turn the shoulder, run, hook the next man over, a little bit of counter. But yeah, they're super athletic. The quarterback is a dual threat guy. So you got, the running back in the backfield. The quarterback can yank it and run and hurt you. And he can also yank it, and they have routes behind it, the whole RPO game. So you've got athletes all over the field. I mean, they're very explosive. I mean, they have a gauntlet of a schedule in the district they're in. But yeah, they're very, very athletic.
So this sounds like a game where, hey, no one needs to be a hero. Do your job, kind of stay in your lane kind of thing. And as long as you do, I mean, you just have to kind of, your responsibilities.
Sure. I think it goes back to what you said. We've got to stop the run and get them in 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 9. And then we can get in our speed package with the 8 DBs, or we can kind of do whatever we want. But if they stay ahead of the change in 2nd and 4, 3rd and 2, 2nd and 5, then their whole playbook is open in the RPO game, and, containing obviously 4 in the run game, and then keeping the quarterback around the pocket, not letting him get wild. Some of his biggest plays are scramble plays. He's not the most accurate. He's about 56% completion on the year, but he's got an arm. I mean, he can rip it all the way down the field and deep outs and comebacks. So stopping the run, keeping him in the pocket, and I feel really, really good about what we're playing and what we're doing.
And then you've got a fresh haircut. I mean, I think that should probably help.
Got buzzed a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It was longer.
All right. I would just keep putting anybody named Aiden out there. Aiden Webb, we've all known, and he's obviously committed to Oklahoma State. But then Aiden Little gets involved more and more this year, and it's kind of like I think you're referring to your speed package. you see like 22 and 26 come onto the field, Osarola. Man, those have been really nice additions. And as the year's gone on, even in terms of like special teams play, well, those two have really shown up.
They have. We've had, good contribution from across the board. That speed package is something we've done 2 years in a row. 3rd and long, we take out some linebackers, bring in some DBs. We get about 8 DBs on the field, play a lot of 2-man and just, passing situations and let the athletes go cover. And we bring J-Ray, talking about being multiple. He goes from linebacker to D-end. We get 3 D-ends on the field to rush the passer and just trying to get as much speed on the field as possible. And then, Osaroler's come in and done a good job at corner when we needed him to. Little's done great. Man, very proud of him. He started for us last year, and then some injuries and stuff happened. He kind of lost his way, but man, he has been a rock this year. He hasn't missed a game, hasn't missed a play. He's basically like a DB playing outside linebacker. He does a lot of the safety stuff in empties. We ask him to go cover a number 2 and basically play safety. He's done a great job. So I'm very, very proud of him for that.
All right. Anybody, you keep having so much fun news with your family. And I think you had a new arrival during the season, right? I mean, y'all had the good sense it was like during a bye week, or perhaps that y'all had some good family planning.
It was perfect timing
in there. But tell us who you welcomed into the world, and then give the rest of your family a shout out.
Yeah, Alexandra Lee Pascuzzi. We had baby girl. Our bye week, I got a 5.5-year-old daughter, Ava. She is a female me. She is a handful. And then I got 2.5-year-old son, Caden, and then baby girl, Alexandra. So I've got 3 kids under the age of 6. Shout out to my wife. I mean, just it's not easy with the baby. I try to do some midnight feedings and some shifts to help her out, but she's with her all the time. And then our house from about 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. with the 3 little ones running around is absolute mayhem. But man, we're up here all the time with football and stuff. So just all the coaches' wives. I mean, we're working all the time at practice, 12-hour days. We've got JV freshman games. We got varsity games. We're home late on Thursday, Friday night. We work all day Saturday. So shout out to my wife and all the wives, because it is not easy.
And your wife's name?
Stephanie.
Yeah.
She is a realtor. If anybody looking for a house, buy or sell,
okay.
Stephanie would love to help you.
All right. They haven't paid for that, so we can't. No, that's fine. Shout out to Stephanie on that. Stephanie, I will be reaching out to you to try to clarify some of these midnight feedings, if those are happening. Anthony taking a lot of credit for what's going on there at the household, but no, congratulations to you, man. So Zach just announced they have one on the way, and awesome. He has a name for it. That's a very meaningful name, and that's really exciting. And then you have a whole team you're assembling. So crazy. It's very exciting. Hey, congrats.
Thank you
on what's been a tremendous year so far. Let's keep it going.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We're in.
I've got ties to that cheer squad. We want to continue to see that crew out there as well.
We're in.
So it is Anthony Pascuzzi, Paz, as he's known around these parts, and we'll see him coaching at the Boneyard on Friday night, 7:00 against South Grand Prairie. All right, for the third leg of the Boneyard podcast, Nathan Hattemer comes in here, and the O-line coach, and have known him for several years now. And Coach, I know all of y'all highly paid assistants. I would say that given what it's been like on the O-line this year with all the injuries and everything you've had to deal with, I would vote for a little raise, because y'all have done a tremendous job, and I've loved talking to you in the past, because you're very passionate and you love these kids and you pour into them so much. But it's been a very rewarding year, because y'all ran the table, city champions, all the great things that have happened. But in terms of just managing this O-line, is this one of the most challenging years you've had as a coach?
I would say so. Yeah, it's been there's been a lot with it, a lot of injuries, like you said, and just a lot of moving parts. To the credit of the boys, man, they've not backed down to any challenges, and so they've really embraced all that and done the best they could with the opportunities they've had, and doing the things that they need to do to put us in a position to be successful, which we've done a lot of. Had a lot of success this year. Had a lot of struggles throughout the year, just like I said last year, it's the process of being good at football, especially offensive line, is very difficult. It's very challenging. And so to go through that process, it's not for the faint of heart. And our boys have really attacked it. Coach Tackett and Coach Campbell, and all the offensive staff. I've been very impressed with what they've done and how they've attacked the challenges in front of them.
That's why the freshmen and JV players in this program need to be showing out on their nights, right? Because
Yeah.
you never know when you might get called up. How is the health of your group going into South Grand Prairie? Are you relatively healthy? Do you have more bodies on hand? I know Mason Bush, right,
Yes,
was
sir.
your left tackle who we
Yeah.
lost early in the season. He's going to be a great, he's got
Yes,
great
he is.
size, and he's going to be a tremendous
Yeah, very
player.
excited about
But
it.
that was tough to lose him. But the rest of the crew, what kind of shape are you guys in physically heading into this one?
Yeah, we're healthy at this point. We don't have anybody that's nursing anything of any significance. We've had a couple ankles along the way and a shoulder or whatever, but man, they're pretty healthy at this point. I mean, nothing we can point to say that we're worried about or somebody that's dealing with anything that's really going to hamper their ability to anything. So we're ready to roll and we're excited about it and excited about where they're at mentally and physically.
Okay, now let's talk. One of the captains on the team, King David.
Sure.
He can be a dominant
Yes,
player
sir.
over at right tackle. And the thing with it, and Christian's had a huge season. When a running back's having a breakout season, and the great thing is, man, the dam has broken. All the recruiters have found out about him, and now it'll be Nebraska,
He's a hot
Miami,
commodity, yeah.
Oklahoma State. Trying to get my Bears. They're a little late to the party on this thing, but that's got to be fun for an O-line when you see a running back. And of course, Deontay had a great run
Yeah.
here as well, but
Yeah.
I bet they take great pride in that and love those run calls.
Yeah, they do. And yeah, it's that's what we're here for, And so it's exciting whenever it comes together. Whenever you got a guy, and I just spent some time this morning just showing them some clips of Christian being Christian, and just so they understand this is the guy you're blocking for. If you'll just be the best you can be, there's a guy back there that's going to take full advantage of everything you do. And so that's rewarding. That's something that as an offensive lineman, knowing that when I do things right, when we do things right, we've got a guy behind us that is going to exploit every single yard that's available through his ability and his physical and mental abilities. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that, like anything, it snowballs. We're better, so he's better, and then it just we feel that, and we really try to feed off that and just let it spread and fuel us and fuel him. So him being the better he is, the better we want to be, which I hope makes him want to be even better. Which and so it just has that snowball effect.
When you have a running quarterback and some of those
Yeah.
zone read concepts and he may pull it, he may throw it. What are the keys? Is it important to have O-line that can move laterally? I don't know how many times you guys are doing double teams and that kind of thing, but what is the most in y'all style of offense? What does it put a premium on for your O-linemen? What's the kind of the most important keys for them with the style of offense you guys have?
Yeah. So I don't know about the most important, but the thing that we talk a lot about is patience, not being in a hurry, playing hard, playing fast, but letting things come to us in their due time. We have a couple kids on the line this year that, man, they're fast movers. We're more athletic than we've been in a few years. And that has its advantages for certain. And there's a lot of things we do to exploit our athleticism scheme-wise, but this year different than previous years. But at the same time, trying to get those guys to have a little bit of patience and let the play develop, let the timing in the backfield take place. And so that's true on some of that zone read stuff. If you're too fast to where you're going to the second level, then you're going to miss something on the first level. And so just understanding that we don't have to be in a hurry. It's going to happen. You know, and you brought up having a running quarterback in Day, and you know that's the thing. You know, we talked about Christian, but golly, Mo Kamara has had a great year. He's got a very unique skill set in terms of his speed and his pop and the way he hits a hole. And I tell you what's fun to watch is the sophomore in Franklin and his patience. He's one of the more patient runners I've ever watched. So watching him do his thing, it's very different. It's four very different skill set backs that we're blocking for. And so that just lends itself to us just, you know, doing what we do, you know, and being us in terms of that patience and knowing where the ball's going to go and getting our body to where that ball's going to go. And so I'd say that's the other big thing is just knowing where's the ball going
Yeah.
and where do I need to be.
Who's the quickest guy up front of those? You said you got some speed.
Man. So
I know you got some big hogs.
Yeah. So Ben Bonner, and
I mean that
Billups.
as a compliment, by the way. That's an old Redskins reference.
Timothy Billups and Ben Bonner are both very quick, very athletic. And then Porter also at left tackle. Porter's a kid that's come in. I mean, he left us after his sophomore season. One of the kids just didn't feel like he was going to be able to play, and then all of a sudden he exploded in size, and which we knew was going to happen when he left us. But he came back, and he really got an opportunity against Jesuit, and man, hasn't looked back. So all three of those guys are very athletic kids for their size speed combo. And you come back to KD, and he's a big, powerful kid. So he's the anchor. Kind of centered all around him.
Well, it's great to have you on, and give us real quick, just a quick thumbnail sketch of what you've seen on film from South Grand Prairie. You're very familiar with them from the past. This is the fifth consecutive time, 5 in a row. But in 2-2 against them, so need to break that tie and get this victory and move on to that second round of the playoffs. What stands out about this front and of course that the linebackers?
Man, they're tenacious. That's the number one thing. They don't stop. I mean, they play. They have a lot of they have a lot of similarities to our defense in their style of play. Schematically, it's not an exact match, but just the way they move and what they do and the gaps they try to get to, and then just their sheer tenacity. I mean, I love watching our defense because they're very tenacious. They're all over the place. They are. They don't slow down. They don't quit. They play to the whistle, and that's very much like this. Sorry, I got something in my throat. It's very much like this South Grand Prairie team, and they got a linebacker in particular, 31. That man, he's fun to watch. He's not the most physically gifted kid, I would say, that we've seen this year, but I would say he's the hardest playing kid we've seen this year. I mean, there's clips of him playing and chasing one. He comes on a blitz, misses, the quarterback runs it, and he makes a play after coming through the line of scrimmage and getting downfield and makes a play 50 yards down the field, literally 50 yards down the field to save the touchdown. So he has no quit in him, and they're kind of all that way. The whole front five, especially their interior backers and their defensive line, just tenacious.
All right, man, have loved talking to you guys, and you anchored this crew with Zach and Anthony, now Coach Hattemer, and you all have great camaraderie, a fun staff. And you know, a lot of staffs, a lot of coaches want to move on. What's next? And I think when you get to a place in a community you really love, you know, it's okay to settle in and be here for a while. And we're glad you've made Lake Highlands home.
14 years.
14 years?
14 years.
My goodness. Are you the most tenured?
No. Coach Tackett, Coach Judd have 3 or 4 years on me, and Coach Campbell has a year.
Has it went by 1 year? Okay. And I'm sure Coach Tackett doesn't hold that over your head, does he at all? Give a shout out to your family. I got to see one of your I got to see your little girl the other night, or two of them. And
volleyball game.
That was fun at the volleyball game against Allen and over at Highland Park, and they were having a blast. They were leading some of the cheers, and they may be future cheerleaders. They may be athletes. We'll see, but boy, the little one with the curls and all, she's a cutie. And so you've got an interesting time ahead of you.
She's a
But
handful, yeah. Sweet Virginia, yeah.
is that Virginia okay?
Yeah.
And what's the rest of your crew?
And then Evelyn's
Yeah.
as sweet as the day is long, and she's the sweetest thing there ever was. And then Harold is my boy. He's in sports and doing it all, and exciting to watch. And then we got our oldest one is Maxie. He's 32 now, so or about to be 32. So
Yeah. Well, do you I one of your son is down there on the field, isn't he?
yeah,
During
he's a
games?
ball boy. He's been doing
Wearing
that
number
for a few
63.
years. Yeah, he had to earn that right though. We made him. He had to do it on the freshman level for
Yeah.
2 or 3 seasons before I'd let him show up.
Yeah, had to earn his keep.
Yeah.
And does he ever give you any feedback down there?
No, not really. He's not there yet.
Harold-
He's not ready for that.
Harold's
Yeah, he's-
picking up on a few things. I see him talking to the refs occasionally down there.
Yeah.
He may be working the
Oh,
officials.
He's never met a stranger, so there's nobody he needs to talk to. So the refs are just one more person for him to talk to.
Well, I appreciate it. This
And then,
was
well, I can't
yeah.
not mention the wife.
Oh,
I wanna mention
please,
all the rest of
please.
them.
I know.
My wife,
Yes.
Caroline, she does it all. Can't do any of it without her. So.
Yep. And we've gotten to meet her. She's great. And
She is.
y'all, it's
I'm
a
biased, but she's phenomenal.
it's a great family, and we're lucky to have Coach Hadimer in here. And so thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
appreciate it. The
I love it.
Boneyard Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
There he is, Coach Hadimer, and Corey Campbell is next. Okay, Boneyard Podcast continues, and Corey Campbell, the familiar face, joining us. I'm glad I wore my ball cap today, mainly because I didn't sleep at all last night. Rolled out of bed, but I don't want to, peel back the curtain too much. From another Cowboys loss, by the way. The good thing is the Wildcats continue to roll, and so let's start by just, first of all, man, compliments to your staff. That was really fun. We had Zach and Anthony, and then, of course, Coach Hadimer. And Coach Hadimer reminded me, I'd forgotten he'd been here 14 years. And that was 1 year, maybe less than you. Jimmy's been around a long time. He mentioned one other coach. Judd has been around. But that kind of longevity, it doesn't really exist a whole lot in coaching, where you settle down and kind of put roots in a community. And I think that speaks to the loyalty kind of your staff and all you guys, because you were one of those assistants for a lot of those years, but also your love of this school and this district.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I grew up in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and just the uniqueness of having everyone pulling the rope in the same direction is pretty special to me. When I came here, I'd been in 7 different places, some large schools, some smaller schools. And that's one of the things that drew me to loving this place is it has a small town feel. Man, I truly love that about Lee Collins, and, a credit to our staff. I mean, those guys, I think if you were to come up and just kind of witness on the weekends or during the week at practice, and they genuinely love being around one another. I mean, I think you kind of see that a little bit when you're around our staff a little bit. And it's fun. It's fun to come to work. It's fun to work alongside of guys that genuinely not only love the game, but the kids and the school and the community. They do a great job. And, hats off to those guys. They spent hours and hours this Saturday and Sunday getting us a game plan ready to go for South Grand Prairie.
All right. And to run the table in district, y'all had a couple of heartbreakers early in the season, and those can go one way or the other. They can kind of weigh on you, or you can kind of use that as fuel. And you guys powered through and really were in dominating fashion. You finish it up in Irving, which seems appropriate since we spent half the season over there this year. And that was I think you pulled away. But again, I don't want to get too much in the weeds on that game. Just at the end, I think people like to hear in the community. What did you say to the guys? And what did it mean to you to get that outright? Because you already had the district title, but this one was, hey, you don't have to share it with anybody, and you all completed the task. What does it mean to this program?
Yeah, I think the standard, the legacy that was here way before I came, of just upholding that is something that we're proud of. And then I told the kids Thursday night, it's fun, man. Whenever you see hard work, and dedication, commitment to a cause, and those kids got to celebrate those Friday or Thursday night, the staff. And I just told the kids I was super proud of them. We were able to accomplish that goal to being district champions. And I told them to enjoy it. I don't know, the coach in me, I have to tell myself you have to try and enjoy things like that a little bit more than you think. And then, Friday morning we had already traded, I think at midnight on Thursday night, we traded all 10 ball games with South Grand Prairie once we got that results from District 8. We immediately got to work and started studying those guys because we don't want the train to stop. And so, immediately Friday morning in video, and then Friday afternoon in weights, and then obviously in game planning with the staff, reiterating that remarks of we want to keep this thing going.
All right. I will ask you a question on everybody's mind. Unfortunately, Christian Rhodes was injured in that game, and it was very worrisome because he was down for a while. It was, from what I've been able to tell, I think it could have been more serious. And so that aspect of it's good. Never great to have one of your star players injured, heading into the playoffs, of course. Can you give us a status report on how Christian's doing, who has been such a tremendous player for you this season?
Yeah, we got Christian in late Thursday night, just a second eval after we got off the field. And then we started treatment, several times over on Friday. As of right now, I would say he's going to be day to day. We'll see how it looks today, see if he practices very much, and then we'll just kind of throughout the week, hopefully we can get healthier and healthier, and he'll be ready to go on Friday.
Okay, so that is the hope, and we'll throughout the week on the Boneyard podcast, we'll be saying probable, questionable, doubtful. We'll put some percentages on it, but again, that was those are always interesting ball games because it's like you want to rest certain players or protect players, but you got to go get the thing. And I think in that game we saw, I think fans are always like, well, just, whatever, play. And that was a game where honestly you tried to kind of get some of your starters on defense out, and then the other team had some success. So you had to get them back in. And that's a tricky thing as a coach, because you want to finish. There's the age old discussion, rest versus rust. And we see it in the NFL. We see it at every level. And that's a tricky thing. You want to make sure you're healthy going to the playoffs, but you want to be in rhythm too. Where do you think your team is right now, heading into South Grand Prairie?
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot. It was fun the other night. I think we've talked about it a few times throughout the year. It was fun to see such a, almost all of our team, I should say, got in there and got to play in some meaningful reps. So that's always fun to see. And then you get into the question of, did you pull your starters too fast? Are you going to do it on both sides of the ball? How is the game flowing? What is the other team doing, et cetera? And so, in the second half, they ask if we would, have a hot clock, so to speak. And so that means the clock will run a little bit more than it normally does because we were out in front. I think that's an easy decision. I think, what we're talking about is more in that first half of, Paz and them on defense did pull the starters, during the first quarter for multiple series. And then, and they were able to go down and they put a couple in the end zone. And we just felt like we were going to go ahead and slam the door. And so we put our starters back in there. And they did a great job. We got a few stops, and then the offense put it in the end zone. And then, things ended up like we'd hoped.
All right. And as we look, and by the way, just to revisit just a couple things from that second half, I love a good hot clock. Yeah, and especially out in Irving when it gets later in the evening. Mason Spangler, who's going to be a great player for you moving forward. He's a sophomore. He's a holder. He's come in even early in the season when Leland was banged up, and he had a good look against Forney. Almost made a miraculous catch late in that game. But to see him, and of course Leland just continues to be a touchdown maker. So I don't want to pass over that. I mean, have you just turned him into a big return man, haven't you? As if he needed another gig. And I mean, that, before anybody could sit down, he was in the end zone the other night. But Mason, in reaching up there and stabbing that ball at the back of the end zone, that had to be. And it seems like to see the teammates, they were, everybody was very excited for him. But he's quite a talent.
Yeah, proud of him. Him and Franklin Evans, both sophomores, found the end zone for the first time Thursday night, and that's always fun to see. One thing about Spang that I'll say is he's put in a lot of time, understands, there's a big difference between, freshman football and varsity football, and the learning curve for him was quick. The amount of time that he spent with Coach Haug and our guys, in the off season, and kind of learning, what we do and things like that. He's picked that up really well. And man, he gets after it every day. And we were able to call his number on Thursday night, and man, he made a great catch, and I was super happy for him.
All right, and let's talk about South Grand Prairie. And by the way, our buddy Glenn Gant, who does a lot of great work for this podcast and a lot of historical work and everything, was telling me, Coach, there's going to be maybe some pregame activities and perhaps even a big tailgate. And so we'll be on the Wildcat Facebook and all. I know, Coach, you'll want to stop by that before the game, see what's going on out there. But we may have some activities to let you know about. And as we get some of those details, we'll get them out. And so lots of fun stuff happening. Should be a full-on crowd. Coach, is there anything we need to get out there as far as like tickets are concerned? The other night, in true Mosley fashion, I was hitting brush fire and struggling a little bit, and I resisted the urge to text you about, to help me. I saw you at the volleyball game. I should have just asked you then. But I guess our tickets ready to roll now, and everybody can get their tickets to the game and all of that.
Yes, sir. It's just our normal brush fire. Be able to get on there and get tickets. I think the only difference is when the UIL playoffs start, there's not a reserved seating section. I know that's a little bit of a downplay around here, but that's the way they treat that when you go to the first round of the playoffs and then on. And so, just super excited for our kids. I think one of the things that we don't talk to our kids a lot about that's part of the UIL and part of the playoff bracket now in the last, 5 or 6 years is, I guess they stadiums, cities, areas like the DFW to play at neutral sites. And so the UIL came in and said, the higher seed, the district champions, can play a first round home game. And so, we're out there practicing. I think, maybe the Richardson week. And I told the kids, there's no guarantees of, what might happen. Kids start thinking about this might be the last time that I'm on this field, in the Richardson game. And so for us to get a first round, home game via that district championship is going to be fun for our kids, our community. The crowds will be huge. Be a great environment. And, that's why we do what we do.
I've lobbied for some more senior activities and some more introductions to happen on the field before that game. Do you have some awards for this week's game coming out of the Irving offensive and defensive players of the game? Let's start with those.
Yeah, we'll go start with offense. I think our O-line, played really well. We've already mentioned that we played a lot of different kids. And so that group up front played well for us. We talked about Franklin and Spangler getting in the end zone for the first time as sophomores. That was exciting. But when so many different kids play, it was difficult offensively to pick a guy. But our offensive player of the week is going to be DeAnthony Flagg. He had a couple big catches and run after the catch, and I think he's kind of he's starting to feel a little bit of normalcy and understanding what we do. And how we do it and things like that. And he's come a long way in our program, and we're proud of him. Defensively, The defensive staff, again, we talked about, those reserves being in there pretty early. DeAndre Gant is going to be our defensive MVP, which that's awesome. The kid's been in our program for 4 years. He's on multiple special teams. Unbelievable effort. High energy kid, fun to be around. So it was fun to watch him play well. And then our unsung hero, unsung hero this week is going to be a familiar name to the Boneyard podcast. Is going to be JT Slinger. He's a guy that our staff loves. He's here on game days, some practices, just a huge part. Does whatever we ask him to do behind the scenes, and man, he loves the Wildcats. And so, hats off to JT.
Well, and he's become a good friend of mine, and he is the ultimate Lake Highlands guy. And to see him, it always makes me feel good. You're kind of getting ready, and you're getting your headset ready, and he's kind of in charge of that a little bit. And y'all always have a word or two before the game, and there's just something calming about having JT around. And he was already brought up on one of our earlier interviews with your assistant coaches, so he's beloved on this staff. And so the unsung hero, JT, do not let this go to your head, okay? We still need you to be humble down there on the sideline. But he fires everybody up, and whether it's going out there to grab the kicking tee or whatever his task is, he does it with a lot of excitement and a lot of enthusiasm. And he loves the Boneyard podcast, and we appreciate that. I think he's responsible for so many of our great download numbers. He just does it. I think he just kind of does it over and over. Okay. Well, let's look at South Grand Prairie a little bit. I want to get your take on this. You should be familiar with them. They will be familiar with you. When you've put on the tape and started to look at this season's South Grand Prairie team, I'm hearing, once again, tremendous athleticism. But what jumps off the tape the most about this SGP team?
Yeah, I think as we watched starting on Friday, they're very similar to what they've been. I'm sure Paz was in here giving you an earful about their quarterback and the running back and receivers and their secondary. Their athleticism is definitely the number one thing of their team. That quarterback and running back really make their offense go. He's got the ability to throw it, to yank it down, and to run it. And just athleticism is definitely something that's concerning that we're going to have to do a great job Friday night. And so, I'd love to give you some, their two tight ends and all this different stuff, but it's largely the same kind of team that we've played. We're round 5. This is the 5th year in a row.
Yeah.
And credit to their staff and their kids too, because that consistency, it's hard to do. It just doesn't happen. And so, I know people probably would, if we could have drew somebody else or played somebody else, but when they divide the schools up, Division I and Division II, and for our listeners, 4 teams make the playoffs, but really it's only 2 in each division. And so when we're in Division I, our population, our attendance at Lake Highlands High School is a certain number. And so we draw other Division I schools that are in our bracket. And so really you're only talking about 2 playoff teams that could be a possibility each year. And they've always found their way to be playing really good football. I think another thing when you look at South Grand Prairie is they always schedule really good non-district opponents. And so, I have a lot of respect for that. Coach DeLay over there, they've always kind of done that since he's been there. And, they've played some really good teams. They were able to, beat Arlington Martin, who I think had 18 straight years in the playoffs, mainly district champions, that program over there. It's going to be a huge challenge. Friday night, they're a great football team, and we're going to need to be at our best, need to have a great week, and we're excited about the opportunity.
Okay, it will be exciting, and I think earlier in the year when Christian got banged up, you had to on the fly get Mo and others involved, and but you've seen Franklin Evans continue to get more and more carries. Very patient back, especially for such a young guy. And so hopefully, if Christian is indeed like on a pitch count or something like that, you've created some more depth and the ability to generate some things elsewhere. I mean, and let's not get it mixed up. We want him, and you need him involved, but you know, this is a team, and everybody's got to step up and help out. So very excited about Friday night playoff football. Texas high school. That's about as good as it gets.
Best time of the year. We're super excited. So, you know, it's what you do it for.
Okay, I'll get you more details on that tailgate.
Okay, yeah, you do that.
Okay, for Coach Corey Campbell, I am Matt Mosley. We will see you at the Boneyard.
We are Rogue Media Sports.